Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Manjeet Singh from University School of Applied Management, Punjabi University, Patiala. Today we are going to discuss about a module, Dependence of New Agriculture Strategy on Business, under the paper Business Environment. Now after completing this module, the students will be able to understand the concepts related to the new agriculture strategy and its features. Secondly, they will be in a position to understand the scope and the achievements of high yield variety programs. Besides this, the students will also be in a position to understand the impact of new agriculture strategy on the business. Fourthly, the students will be in a position to understand the extending of new agriculture strategy. And lastly, we shall be discussing about the positive and the negative effects of new agriculture strategy. Now, my dear students, in the mid-60s was a landmark in the history of Indian agriculture. It was in year 1966 that a strategy, new agriculture strategy, was put into practice to tide over the chronic shortages of food grains in the country. This strategy is called High Yielding Variety Program, that is HYVP, popularly known as Green Revolution. The response to the food crisis of the late 60s was to promote the Green Revolution in rice and wheat through the provision of a package providing research and extension services, inputs like improved seeds, fertilizers, irrigation, and assured offtake through MSP-based public procurement, that is, minimum support price-based public procurement. This has been implemented successfully over the past 40 years. However, presently, with the mounting food stocks, this strategy of agriculture growth has now played itself out. New agriculture strategy. The Green Revolution, or the new agriculture strategy, came on the scene around the middle of the 60s, beginning with the Kharif crop of 1966. It happened because of certain circumstances like drought conditions which prevailed during 1965 to 1966 and 1966 to 1967. These were also the years when the seeds of high yielding variety became available. Without the loss of time, the government enunciated the new agriculture strategy and put to use these seeds. The earlier strategies of IADP, like Intensive Agriculture District Program, and IAAP, means Intensive Agriculture Area Program, which concern with increasing production of traditional crops based on farm seeds, were replaced by the new technology. As before, the new strategy was conceived as a package program to include the required inputs like seeds, fertilizers, implements, water supply, etc. However, the new strategy marked a big break from the old strategy in respect of the key inputs bearing on production. Features of new agriculture strategy. Firstly, it has a revolutionary character. Secondly, high yielding variety of seeds were introduced. Third important feature was that it was primarily a wheat revolution. Now coming to the first feature, that is the revolutionary character. The Green Revolution, based on the new technology, derives its name from the fact of big increase in agriculture production in a short span of time. It was a result of application of new high yield variety seeds and the chemical fertilizers. The core of new technology consists of seeds drawn from researchers in the laboratories, as against the traditionally available seeds on the farms. Inorganic fertilizers were also used, like chemical fertilizers, as against the traditional fertilizers like leaves, animal dung, other forms of manures, etc. Adequate and controlled water supply, pesticides, and their proper combination was a revolutionary step which was taken from the traditional agriculture. Since all this came suddenly, spread quickly, and brought dramatic results, it earned the title of Revolution in Green Agriculture. High yielding variety of seeds. The basic element of this strategy is the application of high yielding varieties of seeds, HYV. Most of these seeds are of the dwarf variety, that is, when grown, their plants are much shorter stature as compared to the plants of seeds of the ordinary variety. These seeds mature into the plants in a shorter period of time. These seeds can be usually sown in those places where there are sufficient facilities for drainage and irrigation. To have the highest possible output, these seeds need to be combined with heavy doses of chemical fertilizers. Compared with ordinary seeds, these require 4 to 5 times more of the fertilizers. As I said earlier, that another important feature of this green revolution was that it was largely a wheat revolution. Another feature of agriculture strategy is that it has mostly been confined to wheat crop. It was first introduced to wheat areas where water was available in ample quantities. For example, the states like Punjab, Haryana, UP have adequate water supply. Its spread in these areas has been equally spectacular. At present, as much as over 90% of the land under wheat benefits from the new technology. Most of the high yielding variety seeds belong to the wheat crop. And so, in case of chemical fertilizers, most of these are being used in the production of wheat. The result is that the yield of land under wheat has gone up very sharply. The production of wheat too has increased much. Now we'll be discussing the scope and achievements of HYV program, that is High Yield Variety Program. Now this program was initially launched in certain selected districts of our country, namely Ludhiana in Punjab, Aligarh in Uttar Pradesh, and West Godavari in Andhra Pradesh. Later on, it was extended to many more districts in the different areas. Now this HYV program concentrated mainly on wheat and paddy, the two significant cereals of the food basket. This particular program consisted of a package which included regular and adequate irrigation facilities, use of fertilizers, better quality seeds and pesticides and insecticides. The need to increase the food grain production was so urgent that this HYV program was implemented in suitable areas with the help of farmers who could afford the package deal. The results of the adoption of HYV program were quick and substantial. Food grain production, which had hovered around 50 to 60 million tons per year in the year 1950-51, started increasing at a faster rate. By the mid-80s, it had touched to the level of 170 million tons. The main achievement was in the area of wheat production. Therefore, many of the economists, they also call it wheat revolution instead of green revolution. The way of government of India. As we can see from the table that in the year 1950-51, the production of food grains in India was just 50.8 million ton, and the production per hectare was just 522 kg. It increased gradually, but after this green revolution, we have seen that substantial increase has taken place. From 50.8 million ton production, it increased to 108.4 million ton in 1970-71, which means that it almost doubled. And after that also, we see that there has been a consistent growth in the production of food grains in India. So that proves that this green revolution and the new technology in agriculture has favorably affected the food grain production. If we look at the production per hectare, which indicates the productivity of food grain production in India, in that also we have seen that since independence, the productivity per hectare has almost increased 4 times, which is quite remarkable. In 1950-51, production per hectare was just 522 kg. But in 2013-2014, we have seen that there has been a 4-time increase to 2,101 kilograms per hectare. And again, a similar trend has been witnessed that after this green revolution, there has been a substantial and constant change throughout the time period under this study, which indicates that the productivity has been favorably affected with the green revolution. This increase in the production and the productivity is attributable to the enormous increase in the population over the same period. The increase in the food production has helped the country to achieve considerable degree of self-sufficiency in terms of food requirements and to tide over the recurring food shortages which were there in the 60s and 70s. This breakthrough has been achieved as a result of substantial public investment in irrigation, agriculture research and extension schemes, subsidized inputs, credit facilities, price support programs. Food grain production will have to be stepped up in the coming years as well to meet the demands of the increasing population. Impact of new agriculture strategies on business. There has been positive effects as well as the negative effects. The positive effects are the high technology inputs, modification in the agriculture practices, large increase in productivity and production as well. However, there are certain negative effects as well. The benefits of this new strategy has not been divided in whole of India. First negative effect is that inter-regional inequalities have increased and interpersonal inequalities have also increased. This has led to a disturbed cropping pattern as well, and there has been intercrop imbalances as well. Fluctuating output is another negative effect. Neutrality to scale, economic effects, social costs, these are some of the negative effects associated with the new agriculture strategy on business. Now let us first of all discuss the positive effects of this new agriculture strategy on business. Now, the first positive effect of this new agriculture strategy or this HYV program was the advanced technology front with regard to the inputs. One of the significant consequences of the green revolution is that in areas which have come under its way, the traditional agriculture inputs and practices have given way to the new and science-based inputs and practices. Instead of the farm seeds, the farmers in these areas are now using high yield variety seeds, which have been developed in the science laboratories. The other inputs are also produced in factories, which includes the chemical fertilizers, etc. Secondly, the rapid spread of the new technology has increased the business of the firms and has increased their profits as well. Lot many types of equipments are to be used as part of the technology for agriculture development. And these equipments have been modernized and their demand has also grown immensely. So lot many businesses have got positively affected on account of the improved technology, the advanced technology front which has come as a result of Green Revolution. The third positive effect of this new agriculture policy was modification in the agriculture practices. An associated effect of new technology is the change in the agriculture practices. To facilitate the proper growth of the quick maturing crops, as also to use the opportunity for growing more than one crop, that is multiple cropping, the various agricultural operations have undergone many changes. Another is the preparation of land, the sowing of seeds, the watering of land, the control of over the weeds and the use of pesticides, the quick harvesting of the crops, etc. are now done in a more scientific manner than ever before. Now this is done by scientific management of water too, as the new technology requires adequate and right doses of water and the different timings which are required for giving that water. It has also increased the sale of new equipments. Large increase in productivity. The new technology has brought about a sharp rise in the yield of land in respect of food grains. This gain is of key importance because, in view of the scarcity of land, there is practically no scope for the extensive cultivation in the country. The gain in the yield was very large in the initial years after the coming of Green Revolution because the increases took place on the existing very low level of yield of land. Thereafter, this phenomena continued, although at a little slow pace. For the food grains as a whole, the improvement per hectare has also increased, which makes improvement in the business activity ratio as well. Another important impact of this new agriculture policy is the considerable rise in production. Since the Green Revolution has remained confined mostly to the land under food grains, in particularly wheat, the production of food grains has raised much. The step up in production has been very sharp in the initial years. Similar has been in the case of wheat. Due to the increase in production, the business activity has influenced a lot because of good sales. It has created the wealth which are circulated in the market. The farmers have more income with them now because of the large production of crops. And after spending and satisfying their needs, they are saving money for investment purposes as well. And in return, the investments have led to the creation of more money. The negative effects. New agriculture strategy has a negative effect on business as well. Some of these effects have been discussed as follows. The first is inter-regional inequalities. To ensure that the benefits of development planning flow to all parts of the country, regional balanced development has all along been accepted as an important objective of economic planning in India. However, the pattern of agricultural development over the years has not promoted this cherished objective of 5-year plans of India. From the very beginning, the high yielding variety program was directed to those regions which possessed proper irrigation facilities and were not prone to the natural calamities such as floods and droughts. These were precisely the regions which were relatively developed and could afford to purchase inputs included in the package. Secondly, this new agriculture policy has also increased the interpersonal inequalities. Since the new agriculture strategy required assured irrigation facilities, it remained confined mostly to the big farmers. The new technology is beyond the means of the small and marginal farmers, and on account of this, the interpersonal inequalities have increased in the rural and the backward areas. Intercrop imbalances. From the beginning, the high yielding variety program was confined to wheat, rice, and coarse cereals like jawar, bajra, and maize. So, the non-food grain crops were excluded from the purview of new agriculture strategy. As a result, the breakthrough has been achieved in case of cereal crops, mainly wheat and rice. There has been no corresponding research and effort for similar successes in other crops, especially pulses and oilseeds. Consequently, there has been undue pressure on the prices of pulses, and dependence on import of oilseeds has also increased. So we can see that this new agriculture policy has led to a cropping pattern which has created imbalances in the Indian agriculture sector. Another important effect is the fluctuating output. Agriculture production is marked by annual fluctuations because it is still dependent to a large extent on the conditions of uncertain rainfall. Agriculture in India is rightly described as a gamble in monsoon. The crops more prone to fluctuations are oilseeds, pulses, cotton, jute, and sugarcane. This has adversely affected the capacity utilization of agro-based industries. Neutrality to the scale. Agriculture scientists say that the return per unit of land is uniform, that is, technology is neutral to scale. However, this conclusion is based on certain assumptions which include controlled water supply, selected seeds, right type of fertilizers, and timely use of pesticides and insecticides. So, if the small and marginal farmers do not have gain from the new technology, it is because they cannot afford it. In other words, the technology as such is neutral between big and small farms. Another point is the economic effects. Technical revolution has established disparities in income of the farmers. Agriculture inputs, in particular, chemical fertilizers, were largely cornered by rich landlords. The poor farmers found themselves handicapped by the small size of resources like credit and inadequate water supplies. Now, there have been certain negative effects of this new agriculture policy as well. There have been certain social costs because this new agriculture technology is responsible for the various health hazards for the farm workers. It is very unfortunate that many poor workers have lost their limbs or even their lives while operating substandard farm machinery like threshers. There is no well-defined provision for quick and adequate compensation to the victims of these machine accidents. The spray of poisonous chemicals on the plants is mainly done by the poor workers, and it proves very injurious to their health as well. Another area, another negative effect of this green revolution is that it has accentuated rural class differences. It has given birth to a new acquisitive society in the rural areas, which has resulted in moral degradation, social tensions, and violence. So, this new agriculture strategy is a mixed blessing with positive and the negative effects. Extending the new agriculture strategy. It should cover more crops. It should enlarge irrigation. It should revolutionize small farming. New ideas should come, and adoption of new technology and making it affordable is another area where we need to work upon. It is stressing the obvious that there is an urgent need to extend the new strategy of increasing agriculture production. This is so for two important reasons. In the first place, the alternative of raising production through extensive cultivation is almost non-existent. Secondly, the new strategy, as now conceived, is based on a correct diagnosis of the problem of raising agriculture production, namely the application of modern technology. In doing so, however, care need to be taken to ensure that the small and marginal farmers are brought within the ambit of this policy. It is even that we can minimize the harmful consequences of the Green Revolution. Covering more crops. As it has been mentioned earlier, that the benefits of Green Revolution has primarily been taken by the wheat and the paddy. There is an urgent need to cover up non-food grain crops like cotton, oilseed, jutes, etc. So, the need of the hour is that the benefit of Green Revolution must be extended to the non-food grain crops, which is the need of the hour. Enlarging irrigation. It goes without saying that an extension of the coverage of Green Revolution necessitates that the required inputs are made available to those areas where the new technology is intended to be applied. Among the inputs, the most important is water. Only if the arrangements are made for irrigation, the farmers will find it advantageous and they will try to seek more and more of other inputs. This means that the farmers will adopt new technology on their own instead of the government agencies running after them. This will make the strategy demand-based instead of being supply-based, as has been the case so far. So in this connection, the easiest, the quickest, and the cheapest course is to go in for small irrigation schemes. Now this Green Revolution was introduced in India in the mid-60s, and now almost 40 years have passed, and now there is an urgent need to look for another transformation, another revolution to transform the Indian agriculture sector. Now, when we go for introspection with regard to the positive and negative effects of this Green Revolution, it has mainly benefited, the bigger farmer has mainly benefited from this Green Revolution. But the need of the hour is that we need to revolutionize small farming as well. And for this purpose, there is need to introduce intensive cultivation on small farms. These farms constitute a substantial bulk of the total agriculture land. Besides, number of such farms is much larger than the larger farms. Apart from doing justice to small farmers by giving them their due, the application of new technology in these farms will contribute significantly to increase the agriculture production. Even the production of wheat, the focal point of new technology, has not shown an encouraging trend for the few years. Greening of new areas is another aspect where we need to look forward. Now, another improvement line of development concerns the rain-fed and the dry areas, which need a new and second revolution. These areas, mostly in the eastern regions of the country, account for as much as 70% of the land under cultivation. But when we look for that how much they contribute, how much percentage of them contributes toward the food grains, the number is very less. Now, those farmers are handicapped on the counts which need to be set right. One is the shortage of irrigation facilities. Second is they are suffering from soil erosion on the large scale. And thirdly, there is no appropriate cropping technology which suits these areas. So briefly, we can say that this new green revolution should provide for technology for moisture conservation, prevention of soil erosion, and improved practices and inputs. Adopting new technologies. It is also necessary to go in for the latest in the field of agriculture techniques, which, unlike the present modern technologies based on chemicals, are environment friendly and promise sustainable and substantial increase in the production and productivity. One such technique, very easy to adopt in India and which involves little cost, is based on the ancient wisdom underlying the traditional farming methods. It involves the use of organic nutrients, which, unlike chemical fertilizers, do not exhaust the soil. Such farming practices as rotation of different crops, planting of crops like rye, row and clove, building of soil with the manure and composite, etc., are non-polluting. Another new technique involves genetic manipulation and bioengineering. This promises more bountiful crops that are better able to withstand rough weather and the pests. So students, let us summarize what we have learned in this module. In this module on new agriculture strategy, we have discussed its feature, its meaning, and evaluation of this strategy. Now, during this particular module, we have seen that what is the impact of this new agriculture strategy on the business. It can be concluded that besides going in for the available new techniques, it is necessary to search for more innovative techniques, because this requires a substantial step up in the expenditure on research and development related to agriculture. New agriculture strategy is very much necessary for the development of agriculture, but we need to redesign it to overcome its weaknesses and to facilitate its spread throughout the country. So we need to learn from the mistakes which we committed in our first green revolution, and we need to overcome those mistakes. We need to learn from our mistakes, and new agriculture policy, new revolution should cater to the more crops so that the small and marginal farmers can also get benefited out of the process. Thank you.